is feeling.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced Sim Racing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Good evening and welcome to Season 3 of the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series in 2022, as we kick off a new season tonight at one of the most difficult circuits on the NASCAR calendar. Tonight we go racing on the West Coast. Sonoma is our venue just outside of San Francisco for 90 minutes of intense racing. The playoffs are already 10 races away now, so let's see who can make it there. Starting off tonight, of course, my name is Ewan O'Leary. Alongside me is Taylor Burris. Taylor, great to have you alongside me once again. It is a really difficult circuit indeed on the menu tonight.
It certainly is, and one of the most prestigious racing leagues in all of esports and sim racing competition. The PRL is about to kick off their brand new season here, and like you pointed out, at one of the most trickiest road courses here. It's going to be exciting, a lot of things to talk about, new drivers, returning veterans, and also defending series champions coming to claim their throne and hold tight against some of the new up-and-coming stars of the PRL.
Absolutely, there's just as much to talk about the drivers who are here as the ones who aren't, because Abner Acosta is an absentee, a notable absentee for this road course race here today. We would have looked forward to seeing his appearance here tonight, but he will no longer be here. It's going to be down to the rest of them to see where they get to. This is where they'll be travelling to over the next 11 weeks or so throughout this Season 3. Starting off at Sonoma, look towards the bottom though, particularly there. You talk about a tough playoff run-in towards that final season where the playoffs will happen. Richmond, Watkins Glen, Daytona to try and get yourself in. That is very, very hard.
It certainly is, and this is probably one of the most hectic schedules because of the 3 different road courses that we're going to have to face, plus also the super speedways of Michigan and Daytona. And then, of course, you have the short tracks as well as also the mile-and-a-half packages of New Hampshire, Atlanta, Nashville, along with, like you pointed out, Richmond, and then Pocono. So a wide diversity of different tracks that we'll be facing throughout this 2022 Season 3 of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series.
Absolutely, and of course they will all be broadcasted live here on RaceSpotTV, and we're very much looking forward to bringing those to you. Let's also tell you a little bit about the people who make this possible in terms of the sponsors for this series indeed, starting of course with Advanced Sim Racing, owned and operated by passionate sim racers. Advanced Sim Racing designs and builds the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. You don't forget as well, all PRL members get a 5% discount on ASR products using the Precision 5 coupon code, so make sure you get yourself down there, certainly indeed. Also, this broadcast and this series as well brought to you by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills with modern overlays, race statistics, native VR integration. You can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app. Also, Bookkicker products an incredible immersion and realism to every game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Also, Ninja Trader, ready to compete against the financial markets, supporting over 60,000 users across the globe. Ninja Trader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. Ninja Trader is always free to use for advanced chartering, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Also, got to mention as well, big shout out to VCO as well, who are partnering with us at RaceSpotTV. And we're very much looking forward to being alongside them, bringing you the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series in 2022 for Season 3. It's going to be a great season indeed, and it's going to be getting underway right now. 5 minutes worth of qualifying, 90 minutes worth of racing here tonight. 5 minutes worth of qualifying to tackle. First of all, Taylor, it's not a long time to get yourself around here and get yourself a good lap time in.
No, but we are already seeing times in the sub 1:15 seconds. In fact, the top two is separated by very incredible margins between Josh Conker and Joshua Daniels, with 1:14.933 as the pole time and a 1:14.938 for second place. But a lot of other competitors are still out there yet to take time as we watch on board here the number the Toyota of Richard Reagan Jr. with the Phase 2 Chassis Works team, who has 3 cars in tonight's race. The 56 machine is now coming across the line to start. I believe this would be his second lap, as Richard Reagan will come across the line and improve a little bit to a 1:15.171, moving him to P3 on the time chart ahead of his teammate Sean Powell.
Yes, indeed, he does. You mentioned before we came on air here, Taylor, about the two Joshua Daniels, Josh Conker. They're 1 and 2 at the moment, and they've got a little bit of a margin over those behind as well. But we spoke a little bit earlier, Abner Acosta not being here. Just how much of an effect is that going to have over the style of racing and the type of race that we're actually going to see here tonight?
It's going to open up the door for a lot of great racing. Of course, the last time we raced at the road courses here with the PRL Cup Series was at Circuit of the Americas back in Season 2, and Abner Acosta led by about over 25 seconds. He is a road course ringer. He knows how to handle these NASCAR next-gen cars here, but we'll see if this opens up the door for maybe a new star to come into play and show what it has to be the possible tonight, as we see James O'Brien, who is a multiple series champion here in the PRL Cup Series, in that number 33 machine. He's going to try to see if he can improve upon his time, sitting in the 6th position right now, the first driver in the 116 brackets.
Yeah, O'Brien was the driver that accrued the most points, I should say, over the 2021 season. That's all 4 seasons combined. Not an improvement for him on this occasion, though. He's in the low 16s at the moment, as we look at Danny Cervantes at the moment as well in the Chevrolet. Over the line for him as well to see if he can maybe dip into the 15s, and he does so with a great lap there. 15.5. That will see him onto the 3rd row and into 5th position in that 48 car, and he's got the RaceSpot stickers on as well, so we've got to take our hats off to that one. But 5th place for him at the moment. We go back to the 64 car. Joseph Hogard trying to get himself inside of the top 10, but you can definitely tell we're getting towards the end now. The front positions at least seem to be settled. It's going to be Josh Conker versus Joshua Daniels. As you predicted at the start of the day, it's going to be between those two by the look of things.
Yeah, it's going to be a strong battle between those two competitors here as we see Joseph Hogard come across the line. Does improve on his lap time, may break into the top 10, but it looks like it will not count. Must have had an off track somewhere as we go back to Danny Cervantes, who tries to see if he can improve on his lap time just a little bit. Looking over his lap times right now, he is looking to track in the right way, but that little bobble might cost him. And this right here, Ewan, is going to be a very trickery area into this hairpin. You can easily wheel hop. We'll see a lot of contact happening in this part of the track as they get ready to start this lap here.
Of course, we've seen last lap passes there. I'm speaking about real life NASCAR, of course. The last lap passes there in recent years as well. Are we going to see one of those today in similar fashion? Let's wait and see on that one. Cervantes with no improvement on that particular occasion. That little bit of a bobble through the fast right-hander really did unscrew his lap just a little bit. We go back to the 64 of Hogard now. Through that same corner, a much better line through there, just getting yourself slightly onto that curb on the right hand side, but in a lot nicer of a way. He's not going to make it around though in time, so he will be starting in 11th position for this one. Let's have a look at where everyone is then, with Conker versus Daniels on the front row. What a fight we're going to see between those two, with Richard Reagan Jr. on the 3rd position ahead of Sean Powell, Danny Cervantes and Chris Hudson for your first 3 rows. James O'Brien just outside of that in 7th, with Eric Haag in 8th. Pat Harvey and Dean Zayance round out your top 10. Joseph Hogart, we just saw there, will be alongside Scotty Johnson on the 6th row together. Robert Besaw Jr. will be 13th ahead of Skip Gandy. Corey Brecker will be alongside Clayton Ham on the 8th row. Steve Loving and Mike Witt will be just behind them in 17th and 18th. Elliot Butler and Baron Hilton will be lining up on the 10th row together. Charles Sumner and Adam Zenke will be in 22nd. Then it's Eric Papineau and Byron McDonald, 4.5 seconds back, and these are the drivers who didn't really get a lap together in this one. Jose Medina, Tyler Justice, Trent Dinkle, who's surprisingly a long way down, Mark Kalin, João Guerra and Ricky Barbary, rounding out your 30-car grid for this race here at Sonoma tonight. 42 entered into this series, by the way. I'm sure we'll be seeing those in a load of the races throughout Season 3. Having some information in from Joey Tebben, who's watching us on from the shadows here today. You'll be hearing him tomorrow here on RaceSpotTV. We're hearing that Trent Dinkle was not allowed to qualify because of a penalty from the last race of the last season here, Taylor. That's made his life a whole lot more difficult.
Yeah, it's one of the rules here. If you do get penalized during a race, your first penalty for it will be, of course, not allowed to qualify for the following race that you enter. So unfortunately for Trent, he's got a lot of work to do, but he has overcome so many different obstacles when competing in this style of racing. He started from the back and he's fought his way up through the field many times. We'll see if he can do that here tonight.
He will certainly have to. Let's have a look at the track conditions. You can see them on the right-hand side. 117 degrees Fahrenheit on the road. That's the most important part of all that you could say. Just coming up to 4 o'clock in the afternoon in sim time. So it's fairly warm, as you would expect from this part of the world. We do see scorching temperatures from time to time. Obviously, using the kind of, well, I don't want to say older layout, because it was only about 4 years ago the last time that NASCAR came to Sonoma to do this layout, at least. Now we go properly to the infield and everything in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series. But here on the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series, we're skipping out all of that and we're going for the more historical layout, the more traditional layout here, Taylor. And I've got to say, I am a fan of that. I'm not a fan of going into the infield, if I'm completely honest. So I'm glad we've got this particular layout here tonight.
Yeah, racing at the carousel like we saw last season, as well as both in real life and in the virtual world, was really not a very fun racing. It caused a lot more drama. Here, racing the old school layout that we have here today is going to provide a lot more passing opportunities, a lot of great side-by-side racing as they're now working their way through the S's right here, which we'll see a lot of hits and miss for some competitors here, so they have to be careful because of just how loose, and it's almost, the car gets super light through this section of the course, so you have to be mindful of where you set up your passing as well as set up your placement of the car.
Absolutely. The temperatures do not mean that the guys don't have to weave their way through this formation lap, just trying to get that heat into the tyres, and just get themselves ready for what is going to be 60 laps of racing here at Sonoma. As the guys come up towards the hairpin, one of the action points we're going to see throughout tonight, I am sure. It is going to be Josh Conker versus Joshua Daniels on the front row, with Josh Conker in control of the field, getting set for 60 laps or 90 minutes of racing here on the West Coast. Road course racing at Sonoma. The green flag is in hand, is about to be waved to go underway. Once again, the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series for Season 3 is underway again. Turn 4 for the first time. It's Josh Conker who converts pole position into a first lap lead. That was an aggressive move into turn 1 though. That was very close between everybody, but Conker comes out on top.
Yeah, strong drive right there by Conker. Joshua Daniels trying to keep pace with him as well as they now come out of the back half of the course, heading over through the S's as we watch Steve Lovings in the 17 machine battling for position. Loving currently inside there. You can see Joseph Hogar in the 64 machine, the YS Motorsports machine, in that 13th spot. Having some great battling here towards the back half of the field, but single file right now. Everyone just trying to find their rhythm and get ready as we enter into the horseshoe for the first time under green flag conditions.
Absolutely, it is all about that. You do need great, not that you don't on ovals, by the way, but on road courses especially, you need to get into that rhythm. You need to settle into the rhythm here today, and that's exactly what Josh Conker has done throughout the first lap, and he'll continue to seek to do at least throughout these opening laps. Back in the pack, it is a little bit more difficult. I'm thinking about guys like particularly Trent Dinkle, one of the best drivers obviously in this series, but also he's back in the pack, and it is more difficult to find that rhythm that we talk about so often around here when you are having to negotiate all of this traffic that he'll have to go through, especially through the first half of this race.
It certainly is, and this is an area you do not want to be in when battling around here at a road course like Sonoma right now. He currently sits in that 24th position as he looks to the inside of Baron Hilton for that position, but Hilton's going to shut the door on him right there, so Dinkle has to back off, try to find the opening he needs as he now tries to find that opening once again to the inside of Hilton.
Oh.
Close contact, 3 wide as they come off the corner.
Goodness me, he didn't expect that at all, but there was a bit of 3 wide going on there, and thankfully everybody comes out of it, but wow, that could have been a lot worse for everybody. Working your way through the S's again. And Dinkle does make his way through up into 22nd position. Could have been a lot worse for him. This is exactly what we mean though. Back in the traffic, it is a lot more dangerous than it is up here, where we've got Richard Reagan applying the pressure to Conker and Daniels. But it's a lot less dangerous for everybody involved. Second place at the moment for Joshua Daniels after qualifying in that position as well. Somewhat remarkably though, given his talent and given his drive so far this season, he hasn't won a race yet in 2022, despite having scored the most points out of any driver.
Yeah, he's had a very difficult season. Season 1 was a difficult one for him. Season 2, he was able to find some more consistent running and able to pull off some good finishes, but yet to break home with that first win. Can he find it here in Season 3? We're going to find out, but he is under immense pressure as one car is off, the 27 or the 17 of Steve Lovings now. Is he going to go a little off-roading in his Chevrolet?
Could have been involved with the 37, I think. Oh, there's certainly damage on that car, isn't there? There it is. And there's more smoke up in front as well. Some people coming unstuck in the first couple of laps. Let's see what happened. It looks like Loving might have gone off on his own here. Just gets a bit loose through turn 3. And it looks like he actually has kept everything out of the wall, but he has lost out on a load of positions.
He's dropping quite a ways back. He's now in 27th position. Well, those curbings can be a little bit unforgiving for you here at Sonoma if you're not careful, especially when that area we just saw him go off at, as we're now back up towards the front of the field with your top 3, and throwing also Sean Powell, who's the highest, one of the highest iRating drivers in the field here, with a close to a little over 4,000 to 5,000 iRating right now. So it's one of the highest iRatings we've seen in this series. Throwing also Tyler Justice with about 6,000 iRating.
Yeah, there are some impressive scores in terms of iRating up and down the field. But yeah, currently running just inside the top 5 is Powell, at least in that 4th place. You can just see him in the background. This is the 25 of Clayton Ham. My goodness, what a moment this is. He's not going to be able to hang on to it, unfortunately, getting really loose. You don't often see the car getting away from you that early on, but really struggling with the balance there by the looks of things, and he's lost out on a load of places as well.
You saw the back end step out on that 25 machine, which is very uncanny, especially in the corner entrance. You don't really see that now when you're going up the hill. Yes, that will happen, but unfortunately for him, he just lost it somewhere here. So we're now seeing Charles Summer in the 98 going a little wheel hopping. He'll loop it around in his Tropicana machine, but no contact. We're going to see that happen quite often here tonight because of that curbing. You think you can take it so much and be able to get as much curbing in order to make the corner, but you have to be so careful of where you place your car.
Yeah, you really do. And this is another example. Mike Witt just getting all out of shape through the S's. Spinning out onto the grass and getting back underway again. Another replay coming up here. Ricky Barbary also having trouble through the penultimate corner. And noses it into the barriers. I think this kind of train of replays does just show how difficult it is, even for the very best, to get things right around here. You don't often see this, but really just a load of spins and all sorts going on out there at the moment.
Had to make sure that we were back live here, otherwise I was thinking we were getting ready to have another replay from our producer, Hugo.
There's certainly a lot going on in these opening laps. 5 laps complete, very nearly, of 60 here at Sonoma. At the moment, it's Josh Conker who has just about got a 1.3 second margin over Joshua Daniels, and on board with Richard Reagan, who, as you can very clearly see, driving in VR at the moment. I wonder if that is a slight advantage to those who maybe even driving with a single screen monitor here today, maybe triple screen or very ultra wide screen for some as well, but VR might just be an advantage, particularly today because it's a road course.
VR racing does have its advantages. The thing is, you can't really do it for long time endurance styles or full length races because it does have an effect on your eyes to a degree compared to a triple screens or a widescreen variant. So we'll have to see how this works out. But Richard Reagan, of course, not only competes virtually, but also is a Legends driver, competing in the U.S. Legends as with those series. So we'll be seeing what he can do here this season as he's picked up multiple wins here in the PRL, both in this one as well as their truck series.
Which is coming up on Thursday night here on RaceSpotTV as well. Very much looking forward to bringing that to you. He's certainly getting towards the bumper of Josh Daniels here, or Joshua Daniels right now, applying the pressure for that second place. But how is he intending to make this move? Down at the hairpin is a good opportunity, although too early in the race for any completely outrageous dives, so he's going to stay where he is for now, and that is a bit of the conundrum really. Do you go all out trying to make a move at this early stage, or do you just sit behind and wait for an opportunity later on?
One thing we'll have to find out here as he's going to just bide his time. I mean, we haven't even hit, a tenth of the race here as we watch on this battle for second place between the two competitors of Daniels and Richard Reagan. You got Shane Powell right there, Danny Cervantes, who stayed in the top 5 after starting in P5 so far, so a great night for him as we watch these two battle it down the hill.
Just a couple of updates on those who are a little bit further down. Robert Visor Jr. is already into the pit lane right now. I think he's completed a pit stop, but repairing some damage, possibly. No, he's still going in the pit lane, I'm afraid. And the 98 of Charles Sumner suffering with a bit of damage as well, as things stand, we're hearing. Anyway, there is the 3 car, getting some repairs early on in this one. Not an ideal start to the race for Visor Jr. To be sat down there in the pit lane. Also, you might have noticed on the left-hand side of your screen, Trent Dinkle has made his way to 15th place, which is a very good start for him indeed. There he is. Doesn't look like he's showing any signs of slowing down either.
Well, looking at his times right now, as he's sitting there, he's currently holds one of the fastest laps of the race, one of the only drivers outside the top 15 who has ran a lap inside the 115 bracket. Makes you wonder if he's able to get some open spaces. He looks to the inside here of Scotty Johnson. Will complete the pass on Scotty Johnson, move him up a spot.
Very wide from Johnson, who was making sure that he gave enough room to Dinkle there, or just went wide himself, but 14th place. But you can already see the disadvantage of starting so far down in the field. Dinkle is already 22 seconds off the leader. Even if he has the best pace in the field here, it's going to be a real struggle for him, even with over 50 laps to go. It's such a struggle for him to get back towards the front.
Certainly is, as we see here on the replay, the 26 machine of Mike Witt have another spin, and The 519 of Joao Guerrero will be able to avoid him as he's going to go off the course.
Trying to rejoin safely, and does so. Just down through the S's. Here comes Richard Reagan Jr. Just has a look. And off, it puts Joshua Daniels slightly off there, wide through the hairpin. The two of them going to run side by side towards the line, but Joshua Daniels is going to hold on to that second place. Richard Reagan just applying the pressure now, starting to show the nose, get in the mirrors a little bit of Daniels here, although he's still finding it difficult to make that pass. Yeah,
Reagan, when he tries to send it in there, as one car goes off, I don't know who that was in front of our race leader of Josh Conker. That's believed to be Ricky Barbary right there in front of the leaders.
Looks like it. A little bit of damage as well. You can see some of the bodywork not quite in shape anymore. As they bounce over these curves once again, deciding whether to go possibly properly out wide there at turn 4 or not, but Richard Reagan Jr. certainly decided to do so. Here is the 19. It's getting things slightly wrong. Back onto the road again, but yeah, just having a trip through the grass out there at turn 1. Now, is this the opportunity for Richard Reagan Jr.? It's the fight for second right now between Daniels and Reagan Jr. Are we going to see a look to the inside from the 56? We're going to see a similar look to what we saw last time about, but Joshua Daniels, more than wise to it, he'll stay in second place.
Had a little bit of a lockup right there, though, on the rear tires of that number 77 machine. He's got to be careful with doing that here multiple times. But back to that point we talked about with trying to make a pass going into that hairpin. If you are able to get to that inside and be able to get the run off you need, you can make those passes like we saw Richard Reagan try to do. But for the most part, if you're not able to and keep that momentum on your side on the outside lane, you can hold them off, as we just see here. Trent Dinkle get around Corey Precker in the YS Motorsports 35 machine.
And it looks like it's only a matter of time until Taylor Justice is going to be overtaken by Trent Dinkle, who is flying through this field right now. He's already won 2 races in 2022 as Dinkle. Most notably, or I guess most recently, I should say, Texas in Season 2. He won around there, but very strong so far in this race. As we go back up to the battle for 9th place. Pat Harvey going backwards at the moment, and it's Zayats who makes his way up into at 9th place in the 31. Nice battles going on up and down, and this is what we're going to see throughout the run. People moving forwards, those who are better on the long run, maybe getting a little bit better towards the end. Those who have really burnt through their tyres early on are going to be going backwards.
They certainly are, as we see that for Pat Harvey, who's now going to dip outside the top 10 possibly, as he's under a pressure from Joseph Hogard into the final corner. As we watch these two competitors coming out of turn number 10, and we're going to see an opening. Nope, not quite yet for Joseph. Pat Harvey will hold on to that 10th spot this time around.
I want to talk a little bit about how these guys are going to approach this race strategically here today. In terms of the tyres, we've spoken about the temperatures, the locking up a little bit. We've been seeing a bit of that going into the hairpin. How many sets of tyres do you think these guys are actually going to burn through during this race? Because we're not expecting, unless we see something monumental, not expecting any cautions. How are you expecting these guys to play it here today?
Well, the smart thing to try and maybe do is break it up in 2 separate races, lap 30, and then, of course, make your pit stop and then run it to the end. We could see drivers maybe try a 2-stop strategy depending on how their cars are and the pace is, but for that part, that's really not the best move. So we're going to see these drivers stretch it out to just about the halfway point till they get to their end of their fuel run, and then they will run it out once again to the end of the laps here. So we'll see how that goes. Of course, these cars can make it over a little over 35 to 30 or 35 to 36 laps on a tank of fuel around this circuit. So we'll probably see some drivers trying to stretch it out just a tick more, which you can do by backing off into your corners a little bit, getting on into these corners a little bit easier, and of course watching on your throttle exit as we see these drivers now work around some more lap traffic.
Oh, there's some engine trouble for somebody missing the shift, I think. They're out on the home straight, but just to clear that thought up entirely, these guys are allowed 5 sets of tyres throughout the race, including the ones they start the race on, so they all have 4 sets remaining in the pit lane. We won't be expecting to see them use them all here, but it might become a discussion point a little bit later on in the season at one of the ovals if we have a lot of cautions throughout a particular race. We'll obviously wait and see on that one as we go a bit further back to, I believe this is Trent Dinkle again. He's still trying to make his way through on Tyler Justice. There is Trent, just in the bottom right-hand side of your screen. You can see how much as well from this kind of onboard shot. These guys are fighting these cars.
Yeah, he is wheeling that race car here as he tries to make it through the S's. Trent Dinkle trying to focus up, get things ready for this run here as they come up to turn number 9. As they make it into, you're going to just breathe the throttle a little bit, not really do a whole lot, and now get ready to shift down into those final couple of gears here through turn 11. And hold your line right there. Beautiful drive right there. A little bit off the corner exit, gets a little loose, but is able to gain control back of the car, but lost a little bit of time on his competitor that we see of Tyler Justice.
Not an ideal exit. Just see him speaking there. Who do you think he will be speaking to at this stage? I mean, in terms of the strategy, it seems fairly straightforward from what you've said there. Will it be some kind of spotter maybe, just keeping him occupied, I guess, throughout this race?
Well, when you have a team owner like Tommy Milner, who is your team boss and team manager, who knows a thing or two about getting around these road courses, he will probably be giving a little bit of strategy calls for the entire team here. So we'll be keeping an eye on some of these competitors. So we'll see what will happen. But for the most part, Trenton Dinkle knows a thing or two about getting around these road courses, but the team works very well together when it comes to strategy. As we see the pass for second place now. Daniels gave up the opportunity, and now Richard Reagan moves up to P2.
Finally moves up. He's been hounding the back of that 77 for a long time, but finally Reagan makes his way through, and on the completion of lap 13 we've got a new driver in second place. This is how it was done, just on the brakes, and as he said there, Daniel's not willing to really fight too hard there.
Nope, just capitalize on the mistake of Joshua Daniels in the Love Machine, and of course he will now drop back to third, but the Phase 2 Chassis Simworks team will now move it up a little bit, and we'll see if he can now go and hunt down Joshua Conker. Currently, looking at the times, Conker is just a tick faster than second place Richard Reagan Jr. last time by, so we'll see now that Richard has a little bit of breathing room and clean air in front of him, if he can go and chase down Conker.
The both of them have got a couple of race wins so far this season, although Reagan hasn't won since week 2 of 2022. It's been quite a long time between victories. I mean, 2.5 seconds, nearly 3 seconds. Josh Conker's built up a nice lead here, but it's by no means, I mean, we're about a quarter of the way through now. It's by no means an uncatchable gap there. Conker has still got a lot of work to do from here to the flag.
He certainly does, and he's got a little bit of lap traffic up in front of him now, and that's going to be the 519 of Joao Guerrera in his Toyota. The Toyota 519 machine is now going to give way to Josh Conker, let him pass. Respectable out of the lap traffic to move out of the way of the leaders who are working their way through.
Yeah, already 25 cars on the lead lap. We've got 5 cars, 1 lap down. One of them, unfortunately, not running anymore. Ricky Barbary in the 19 is our first retirement from this race here today, although we're struggling from the word go, really, I'm afraid, in this one. But yeah, you're right. Traffic is going to be a factor here today. Next up, Charles Sumner, who's already been around in this race here today. As we go back to Tyler Justice, who is putting a stop to Trent Dinkle's run through the field. This is quite remarkable from the 6th car.
Yeah, Tyler Justice knows a thing or two about getting around here at Sonoma. He's picked up multiple wins on the iRacing service as Dinkle tries to find the opening. As we watch Justice now with his rig, he's strapped in, trying to hold on for dear life on this race course.
Very dark his room at the minute. I don't know why he chooses to race in the dark, but anyway, it's personal preference, of course. Doing well though, whatever works. And certainly driving very strong at the moment. Just missed the apex slightly through the right hander. A little bit worried about his connection for a couple of moments there. But it looks like it, well, always very concerning when you're in Trent Dinkle's position here and there's the car blinking in front of you, but it looks like it's going to be all fine. Yeah, as you say, strapped in, and we've seen from a lot of these onboard cameras so far here, Taylor, a lot of these guys taking their sim racing very seriously, which is what we like to see.
Yeah, I mean, we all want to have fun when it comes to sim racing, but when you want to get to the height level of competition, you want to make sure you have some of the best equipment. here on the service to be able to go out there and race. And we're going to see that here from several of our competitors. We saw that with Reagan, also with Justice and Trent Dinkle. And we'll probably see that with several other competitors here throughout the night. But it's all about also going out there and having fun, as we're seeing everyone out here having done a great race, putting on a good show, as we see the 43 machine out there on the track. I believe that is Hudson, Chris Hudson, sitting in 6th. There he is. He's got the wide triple screen right there as he's trying to hunt down Danny Cervantes.
Very wide indeed. Will be a bit of an advantage to him, especially around this corner, I suppose. Be able to see around a little bit further. A little bit of a slide for Cervantes in the 48. But out over the line, he's going to hold on to 5th place, as he has done throughout the first 16 laps of this one. Did it very tricky up the hill towards turn 2. You're always slowing down, but you never want to be braking really not in a straight line, and that's exactly what you have to do with all the elevation as well. It's so tricky to go quick around here, and that's why we're seeing some of the gaps that we are seeing. I mean, we've got nearly 30 seconds back to 13th position. We're only on lap 17 here. The gaps are very large because it is just so tricky for all of these drivers. As you can see from some of these onboard shots, Hudson, Cervantes, they're all fighting their cars.
Yeah, they are really trying to fight here and get ready to run through the S's as they go up the top of the hill. And Hudson trying to find that opening to get around the 48 machine of Danny Cervantes down the short chute, heading into the turn number 9. Lifts off the throttle just a little bit, gets back onto the throttle full time, and then now makes the run to hit the binders. Right about there is when you want to start hitting it. Goes a little wide, then decides to try to dime in the corner a little bit, which can work to a degree here at Sonoma, but you've got to be careful, make sure there's nobody around you in order to try to sneak into your inside.
Absolutely. It is a risky one when you're in a bit of a train, but thankfully for Hudson, he's got nothing to worry about in the rearview mirror. Eric Haag is the next driver, I should say, in that 7th place, as we got side-by-side battling. Out for 9th position, it's Hogard getting himself, I think he's staying in this position, isn't he? Dean Zayat is applying the pressure at the moment, although not able to make it work. We're seeing a bit of a train start to form here, from 9th position all the way down to Trent Dinkle in the 13th spot. There's a bit of a battle developing, and it's not an ideal place to be for some of these drivers. They're all kind of stuck behind Hogard by the looks of things.
Certainly seems to be the case right now, as we see Hogard trying to hold off Zayat and Pat Harvey, who just now finally dropped out of the top 10 for the first time here tonight. As we see here comes Justice and Dinkle now. They're now caught up to the tail end of this 3-car train, and see if they can get around the SEG Esports machine of Pat Harvey.
Very striking livery, I've got to say. The American flag, the stars and stripes all over the rear end for Pat Harvey. Trying to make his way back inside the top 10 again. Dean Zayat's standing in his way at the moment, with Tyler Justice turning defence into attack here by the looks of things, in towards the hairpin. Having a look down the inside, deep on the brakes. Nice move. Tyler Justice has been moved up to 11th place as Pat Harvey just gets out the way.
Open the door for Trent Dinkle also to pick it up, so 2 spots lost for Pat Harvey. A tough break for him as he'll fall all the way to 13th spot and lost a little bit of time as well.
There's Justice again, some very early downshifts there. Be just a bit careful on his engine, but he'll be absolutely fine over a race of this distance. Not a very long one here tonight in terms of the race distance you would see in a real-life NASCAR race, of course. A much better line, though, for Justice. And towards turn 4, it's going to be an inside move. Oh,
little contact.
And side-to-side contact, but Zayat has been muscled out.
Notice that we saw there on the screen on the board with Tyler Justice, he's utilizing sequential shifter where you have to actually go down and hit it instead of some of the competitors we've seen tonight, like Chris Hudson, who uses the paddle shifters tonight. And also, I believe, Trent Dinkle, who's utilizing the paddle shift. Nope, he's also using the sequential stick shift as well as contact. More right there.
Contact, and Zayat just about gathers it up, but wow, that was a scary moment for him. Pat Harvey makes his way through as well as Trent Dinkle. The 2 cars just getting locked together almost, it looked like, on the run down the hill through the S's. They made their way towards the end of the lap, and Dean Zayat nearly made his way into the wall.
He certainly did. Meanwhile, for Joseph Hagard, he Hogard picked up another 3 seconds on Tyler Justice as he breaks into the top 10, as we now see Mark Kalin getting around Corey Precker for 14th position.
Here is the replay. You see the 6 there, just looking at the inside. Wow, that was quite a moment for Zayat, but I mean, it's hard to, for me there, it's hard to know where to put the blame there, really. I mean, the two of them were just kind of running in the same place. It's not really anybody's fault in particular, I wouldn't have said personally, but Tyler Justice just trying to get on with his race, trying to almost push Zayats along a bit, and yeah, the two got locked together. Fortunately, Zayats didn't have a big accident there, because it could have easily gone that way, but Tyler Justice at least has been moved up into the top 10.
Certainly has right now, as we watch Mark Kalin and Corey Precker going back at it once again for the 14th position. You got Scotty Johnson right there behind, trying to close up these two battling for position as they work through the S's toward the back half of the course.
Great fight between these two. There is Corey Precker. You can see on board with him a slightly narrow line into the penultimate corner, and he will lose out ever so slightly in this battle for 14th place. Oh! Late on the brakes, locking them all up. Not the way you would like to do the hairpin, but he didn't get into the rear end of Mark Kalin. He has allowed Johnson just ever so slightly to close in as we go up to Sean Powell trying to apply the pressure to Joshua Daniels. I mean, Daniels just seemed to be struggling here in this race. I don't know what's up with him at the minute, but ever since those first 10 laps went by, his car has not quite looked the same.
No, it certainly hasn't, as Sean is now all over the back bumper of Johnson as he locks up, or Daniels as he locks up the rear tires a little bit as they go through lap traffic here. We're already putting up to P22 a lap down. Clayton Hammond, the first car, 1 lap down. Baron Hilton would be the next one put a lap down. But these drivers are really struggling to get around these lap traffic here as they're trying to find openings to get around as quickly as possible to make sure they keep pace. As we see here, looking at timing and scoring right now, so it's about a 2-second gap between your top two.
Richard Bragan is certainly just bringing that gap down ever so slightly, with Josh Conker still in control at Sonoma through lap 22. It's Conker from Reagan, Daniels, Powell, Cervantes is top 5, and Hudson, Haag, O'Brien, Hogart and Justice to complete your top 10. Through traffic again, on board with Sean Powell in the 45. Just trying to utilise some of that traffic you were talking about there. I mean, arguably, it is more likely to lead to a pass than it is on an oval. These road courses really do kind of lend itself to more unpredictability in that respect. And on this occasion, Sean Powell wasn't able to do anything about it, but very easily, Daniels could have slipped up there, and Powell will be able to make his way through if that happens again.
Yeah, he certainly will be able to as we watch him back on board coming across the start-finish line here. Watch him going up to the top of the hill here at turn 1. Lights off a little bit. Now starts getting under the binders as they go underneath the bridge. You're going to want to get about 2nd gear here before a quick short shift up to 3rd gear. And then now let it breathe here, maybe drop it down to 2nd gear as they come up to the top of the hill. It's going to stay in 3rd gear right here. And the run downhill, you want to be careful with this at the curb. And we've seen it time and time again here at Sonoma where you have to be careful, especially right here, because if you're not careful enough to get back down, you will hit that wall in a heartbeat.
And that'll be your day over as far as a good result is concerned anyway. It's good to get a view on board of a whole lap there with Sean Powell, just to see just what these guys are facing here this evening. Working their way through the S's again towards the hairpin. The best opportunity arguably on this course to make your way through. Down the inside is the most popular look, but it's not going to be for Sean Powell as we go aboard with Joshua Daniels, the points leader in 2022 in terms of who has got the most points in the opening 20 races of this season. Joshua Daniels has managed to get an unbeatable, or an unbeaten, I should say, 766 points, which is 37 more than Abner Acosta has managed to get, despite his 7 victories in this season so far. Daniels has had a very strong year. So we go back to the fight for a 5th position and the leaders, because this is all closed up now.
It certainly has, and it's just going to get even more exciting here in this stage here as they work their way through. We see Josh Conker negotiating through the lap traffic, but there you see Richard Reagan. He is caught up to Josh Conker. It's now a half a second as we see Reagan trying to find the opening now as he had some lap traffic in front of him to negotiate.
Has lost him a little bit of time. I think he got out of shape. We're going to see it here. This is the run into the hairpin. Let's listen on board. Yeah, there it is. Just clipping that curve. He mentioned them earlier on. They are there to be used, but too much. And Richard Reagan has found himself all of a sudden pretty much back to where he started.
Unfortunate for him, but he's going to keep on racing here to continue on with this battle for position. As they watch on here, we see Daniels and Powell now battling still for that third spot. Powell still has not found that opening he needs, though, to get around Daniels at this time.
He's just waiting for that opportunity, waiting for the chance as the number one car gets out the way. Meanwhile, pit stop. First stop of the day for the real front runners. It's Joseph Hogart. Is he just going for an early stop here to maybe get an advantage over the rest? Is this a two-stop? I would have to say that it's probably trying to get a bit of an advantage by having that early pit stop, but it's an interesting call.
It's going to be an interesting one indeed because he has, pit road here is one of the longest pit roads that these drivers will have to negotiate all season long here. And as you see goes up onto the jacks, see how quickly he can get back out on the track and see how much of a time gap it is right now. Currently, last time by Conker was able to drop a 1:15.4, running consistently in the 1:15 to the low 1:16 bracket. So we'll see if this is going to be a step up for Joseph Hogart where he can make up some ground on his competitors.
And here's the one of the important things as well. Look around at the minute. No cars around him at all. That is going to be a huge advantage in terms of him trying to make his way up the order. We'll make a note of the fact he was in about 9th position. He was in that battle for 9th with Tyler Justice. Where is he going to be by the end of this pit stop window? The fact nobody's around him, though, is a great sign.
Yeah, the thing is right now, though, is he is the last car on the lead lap at this time. And not too far behind is your race leader, Josh Conker, as we see Chris Hudson work his way around some cars, still trying to keep up with Danny Cervantes for that 5th spot.
These two have been fighting all race so far, with pretty much nobody around them. Not too far up to the Daniels and Powell battle, but in terms of the guys behind, they are a long way behind compared to the rest. As Hogart into the hairpin again, and we're working our way through the S's once again with Cervantes and Hudson of trying to make their way through, or Hudson, excuse me, trying to make his way through as things stand into the hairpin. Traffic around once again as we've got Richard Reagan into the pit lane. Now this is going to cause a bit of a reaction surely from some of those around him. Josh Conker has got to take note of that.
He certainly does have to take note of that. We'll have to see how this will affect the speeds of everyone here as we see no one else really has come down pit road. This is the second only driver inside the top 10 who has come down pit road. As we get into his box, going to take a sip of water and get things back out on the track here as quickly as possible.
He's clearly preparing for some sort of apocalypse with the amount of water that's in the background there, but anyway, he's hydrated and he's underway again. 14 seconds in the box, and that should be his only stop of the afternoon. But look at where he's been brought out. Tyler Justice and Trent.
Oh, he spins it!
A spin! Just on the power out of the pit box, and surely all hopes of a race winner going down the pan right here. Richard Reagan back onto the road, but the time lost is about 10 seconds.
Not only that, but the tires have definitely got to be not doing too good after that spin right there, especially cutting through the grass and dirt and gravel. That's going to cost a lot of grip to the tires.
A race-defining moment potentially for Richard Reagan, who gets things wrong on the pit exit. Here it is again. It's just cold tyres up the hill, trying to get the power down, and there was no grass. He wasn't on the curb particularly. You've just got to be careful out the pit box.
You certainly do have to be careful. We see now the battle for second once again between Daniels and Powell, as we now wait to see when will everybody else now make the jump down to pit road. I'm pretty sure the spotters of each and every one of these drivers, crew members, is letting their drivers know, hey, we saw that Richard Reagan has spun. This gives an opportunity for them to either stretch it out a little bit longer or to come down pit road this time by. As, ooh, a big wiggle right there for Daniels as he's trying to get around one of the lap cars.
That would have scared him just a little bit. One of the cars, 1 or 2 laps down, just struggling out there at the moment, but Daniels makes his way through nicely. So 8.5 seconds is now the lead for Josh Conker, completing lap 28 of this race here at Sonoma. It's the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series Season 3 opener in 2022, and it's been all Josh Conker so far. Richard Reagan was starting to just give him something to think about, but now Conker has a much bigger lead as Sean Powell comes on to pit road.
Sean Powell coming out of the 3rd spot now is going to drop back, and we'll see now if this will affect anything for him as he will follow his suit of his teammate. Hopefully he'll be able to get a better run off pit road compared to Richard Reagan as we watch him now enter into his pit box.
And once again, Joshua Daniels will have to make a note of this one. Be very interesting to see where he comes out in relation to Richard Reagan. I think the 56 will still be in front, but the gap is going to be a lot smaller than it previously was. You might even see Powell's jump Reagan here, but I do find it slightly unlikely. Tyler Justice in the 6th also comes in. There he is, getting his tyres changed. It just looked like Powell might have made his way in front of Reagan by a couple of seconds, actually. So not only is Reagan...
No, Sean Powell does the same thing.
Oh my goodness. Exactly the same thing. In nearly exactly the same way. Sean Powell now has trouble off of pit road.
That's going to be a big question now for the rest of the field now.
You see him again out of turn 1. And there it is. You see, it's even sooner, and it's into the wall for the 45. That's going to be something more to take note of there for Powell, because there might even be a bit of damage there. But everybody surely, or every spotter at least, watching this at the moment has got to be thinking, or telling your driver, be careful out the pit road because it is dangerous.
It certainly is, as we see him trying to get around Mark Kalin now, as he now drops back to the 12th position. As Richard Reagan is now inside the top 10. Josh Conker still out on the racetrack, has yet to come down pit road, as he will be getting cross flags, though, this time by, as they work their way through the S's once again.
About half distance here at Sonoma. Sean Powell with now a lot more work to do than he previously did in his Chevy there, out of the final corner and over the line again. Mark Kalin, excuse me, in this battle for 11th. The 62 car just trying to defend, but with a car that has a lot newer tyres, this is quite a difficult job really. But I have to say, the difference between old and new tyres is a lot less pronounced than I was actually expecting here.
Yeah, it certainly is, because looking at the lap times currently out of our drivers who have already pitted, Joseph Hokar, who was the first driver inside that top 10 to pit, he is, I had to say this, he is at least 7/10 off the pace and just ran his fastest lap of the race compared to our race leader, Josh Conker, who has yet to pit. So far, Josh Conker is pretty much in a league of his own by just how well he's been able to manage the tires here.
He has been so impressive. And it really is a skill that you have to acquire. I mean, it's not something we talk about too often in NASCAR Cup Series races. Tyre conservation, it's not as big of a deal when we're on the ovals, but in these road course races, you really do have to learn how to manage these tyres through a race, as we see off the road once again, Elliott Butler not having a very easy afternoon.
That vibrant number 96 anchor machine is having a little bit of troubles here as we watch, but you know, as we'll go into the season later on, Ewan, we will actually see a little bit of tire conservation when it comes to racing on the oval side. I mean, if you think about it, if we do get long stretches of green flag runs that go over 20 laps, we're going to see a lot of changes in the tires as we see Mark Kalin go off the course a little bit. That opens the door for Powell to move up a spot.
You are absolutely right, as Chris Hudson also comes down pit road, and that is, I think it's Elliott Butler again, isn't it?
Yep,
who's got off the road in the 96. It is Well, when it rains, it pours, and I'm afraid it is for Butler at the moment. As we go into the pit lane, onto pit road with Chris Hudson again in the 43 car, making his first and only tyre change of the day. All four as usual, and he's going to be making his way out once again. Those who have run a bit longer in this race are going to really fancy their chances now, because they've seen two of their main rivals for good positions in this race already come unstuck as Chris Hudson. He very nearly repeats the mistake in the background. That's Reagan off again.
I think he was caught off when he saw Hudson come out in front of him off pit road, try to see if he can get around him as quickly as possible, but unfortunately makes the mistake here. Let's watch. Ooh, a little bobble right there, loops it around as Chris Hudson does almost the same exact thing, but was able to catch it instead of like Richard Reagan was unable to, as Josh Conker now comes down pit road.
Now everybody Josh Conker is in contact with right now has got to be screaming at him to take it easy out of pit road, because we have seen all kinds of problems. That's the third driver to nearly lose it, or actually lose it, coming out of pit road. And Richard Reagan, you're absolutely right, I think, with your initial analysis there, just caught off guard really by Chris Hudson being right on the racing line. Not his fault, of course, he's just making his way out of pit road, but he did put Reagan into a spin of his own. Now Josh Conker, can he successfully navigate the first corner on cold tyres? He certainly can, as he has successfully done pretty much everything else this evening so far. Fifth place for now, but you can be sure that is going to turn to first later on.
Welcome Mr. James O'Brien for the first time into the top 5 here tonight, as he sits there in 4th position. Also Eric Hagg in a 3rd position right now before pit stop cycles will be completed. But now we're going to really see the times get up to pace here between your race leader as well as everyone else. For Richard Reagan, really, he has not been able to improve his major lap times as Josh Daniels comes down pit road, and Joseph Hogarth really was not able to make any gains with his fastest laps of the races so far compared to our race leader.
Cervantes also in. You can see the orange and black car in the background there. Still got a few drivers to come in just yet, so we will work out whether Hogarth has actually gained or lost when that's all happened, at least in its entirety. But we've still got at least, 6 or 7 drivers to come down pit road just yet. Joshua Daniels being one of them, but he is now doing that. Not going up on the jacks at the moment.
I wonder, did he just take fuel only?
Well, that would be strange.
Not necessarily. I mean, we've seen drivers in this road course racing here, especially in the official side of things, really choose not to take tires because, especially if the tires are gripping up quite well, and also, if you think about it, it means a little bit better grip compared to what we saw with those who took tires here tonight. So we'll have to really see if that comes into play for Daniels now, as he's now 12 seconds back from Conker, as we see the Eric Hagg machine of the 89, now your race leader.
Yeah, I mean, it did save a bit of time in the pit lane, did it, for Joshua Daniels. I mean, yeah, I'll say it would be a surprise. It would be a surprise to me, but I don't. What do I know? I'll bow down to your knowledge on this one here, Taylor, for on this occasion, because yeah, it seems strange to me, but obviously he knows what he's doing. Daniels, as I mentioned, has got the most points so far in 2022, including a good few road courses that we've had so far, the likes of Daytona and Circuit of the Americas even. As we go back to the battle for 12th, some of the battles in the midfield, and this is the kind of stuff that Hogarth has found himself in throughout the times when he's supposed to be gaining a bit of time in clean air. Corey Preckert just on the defensive at the moment in the 35. We have 7 of Johnson just in behind, but these two both do have to make a pit stop in this race.
They certainly do have to make a pit stop here in a few moments' time as they work their way down into the final corner. And really going to start trying to put the pressure on, but they only got to run maybe, let's see here, 35 laps. They got another 4 or 5 laps left as Mark Kalin now comes down in his pit box.
62 car just also not taking tires by the looks of things. No going up on the jacks there, and there he is on the right-hand side. Of course, the further you go in this race, the less fuel you have to take on board to go to the end. If you can save that 1 or 2 lap of fuel, it might just save you a couple of seconds in the stops. Now, can Mike Kaling make his way out of the pit lane successfully? Sorry.
So far, so good as he gets up to the top of the hill. Takes it a little bit easy right there. Great drive right there for Kalen as he will now stay in this position, in 16th position, the last car on the lead lap.
It's been a very, very difficult race for those down towards the back. I've already mentioned Ricky Barbary, who's out of this race. Byron McDonald also out here, as well as Jaguera. Now, I don't know about, I think you mentioned Byron McDonald a little bit earlier on, before we came to air here, Taylor. A bit of a surprise to see him maybe out of the race, or?
Yes and no. I mean, Byron McDonald is one of those respected drivers, veterans of the series, who does have some strong runs, but unfortunately must have had some issues during the race, decided to take it behind the wall. He is one of, I have to say, at least 5 drivers who are not going to be able to finish. I'm checking on to see if Jose Medina and Robert Besaw Jr. are still out on the track. Besaw is, but for Jose Medina, he is not, so making 4 cars out of the race.
Yes. As Josh Conker makes his way through on James O'Brien, because the 33 is into the pit lane. As you've already referenced, multiple-time champion of this series. And don't tell me he's missed his pit box there. He made a very late dive for the apron, and I hope that he didn't miss his pit box and he was just weaving about. Yes, he was, so that's all right. He's coming into his pit box now, and he will take on the fuel only. We'll save those couple of seconds in the pit stop. I expect this to be about 10-11 seconds or so, and O'Brien should be on his way. Oh, we'll go past 12. 13.3 in the end for the 33, and he makes his way out of pit road, hopefully successfully. He comes out ahead of Sean Powell. I mean, no disrespect to James O'Brien, but he was not anywhere near Powell really throughout the first part of this race, and now look, the two of them switching around.
Opens up the door now as they go at it here for position. So looks like James O'Brien is in the middle of a Chassis 2 Simworks sandwich with Reagan in front of him and then Sean Powell behind him, but he's got his teammate Trent Dinkle trying to close in as well, as we see the 35 of Corey Precker enter into his pit box, as well as Eric Hagg come down the pit road.
Race leader for a couple of laps there, Eric Hagg, but makes his way into pit road and will be taking on a bit of fuel, possibly tyres as well if he fancies them, but he's gone so far in the race so far that he might not decide that tyres are going to be worth it for him today. Onto the apron he goes, makes his pit box without having to reverse, and he does take tyres. Despite going over 35 laps on one set there, he's decided to really have a real fast run at the end here.
He's looking to see what he can do here, as we just have a new fast lap by Josh Conker, a 1:14.494, absolutely flying out here today.
Wow, over half a second quicker than anybody else inside the top 6 or so. We have seen a 14.8 from Sean Powell earlier on. Trent Dinkle has been in the 14s as well, but those lap times are few and far between. Conker is not going to be denied today. 12 seconds of a lead. It's looking like it's going to be his day for the 3rd time in 2022. A little bit of a lock-up there. You can't say he's not trying. He's got a lead, but he's not sitting on it at the moment.
He's going to try to see if he can stretch it out here in this run to keep that lead up and not make sure he has any chance of losing this win here today. And it goes even faster, a 14.447. That's the fastest lap all session long out of practice and qualifying.
It's not only the speed which he's going around at the moment, but the consistency there. Those 2 lap times were not only blindingly quick and much quicker than anybody else has managed, but they were only half a tenth apart.
Yeah, it just shows the incredible talent and speed that Josh Conker's putting in here in the second half of the run here, as we're closing in on 20 laps to go, as we see the 45 machine of Sean Powell getting around Eric Hagg for the 7th position. This is going to be a good battle between Hagg along with Powell to see how the times are going to separate between these two competitors, as both of them do have fresh tires compared to each other, but Hagg a little bit more fresher compared to Powell. So will Hagg be able to make up some ground on Powell? We'll find out here on this stage.
Interested to hear what you think about where Reagan and Powell can go from here in the race. 22 to go. Both of them obviously have been around on a spin. Reagan a couple of spins now. What, in terms of the long-term effect, though, of those spins, will it have done too much to the tyres, really? Are they going to be feeling the effects of those spins later on in the race? Or are they going to be fine from here on in? It's just about making up the time.
Well, I can already tell you with how Richard Reagan is already running with his lap times, and even Sean Powell, both of them are running some of the slowest lap times inside that top 8 right now. So it's going to be critical to see if they're going to be able to improve that. If we got a big issue right there as Dean Zayat gets a little bit loose in front of your race leader.
Not what Josh Conker wanted to see over the hill there. But Zayat stays in 14th. He's got Scotty Johnson just behind him. Well, I'll say just behind him. About 10 seconds down the road at this stage. Fresh out the pit lane in the 07. As the clouds just come over briefly, maybe having a slight effect on the track temperature at the moment, but it won't be too drastic. You wouldn't expect. Certainly not drastic enough that these guys don't think they can do a whole race on the same set of tyres. That's what we've seen from Josh Daniels, although he did do a 16.0 on the last lap. 1.3 seconds slower than Conker. 3/4 of a second slower than Cervantes, so not ideal for Daniels, but you never know what kind of traffic he could have encountered on that lap.
As we keep an eye on this battle for position here and keeping an eye on the competitors here for Savage, who's having a decent run early on, but now is trying to get himself resituated here for this final stage here today.
20 to go for the front runners at least. That's one lap down now from Josh Conker, who's leading this race. Now then, the 48 and the 43 have been inseparable so far in this race, and it's not changing. Danny Cervantes versus Chris Hudson is continuing. And you've got to say Cervantes has done a very good job in this race so far to just soak up all the pressure that the 43 has been heaping upon him.
Yeah, he certainly has here as we watch these two battle. Of course, this is now a little further up inside the top 5 after Reagan and Powell made some mistakes. So this is now going to be a battle for the final step of the podium between these two competitors.
A fierce battle it is going to be. These two over 20 seconds from the leader now. Any hopes of getting second place will be vanishing rapidly. Richard Reagan, will he be able to catch these guys? Well, judging on previous form in some of the previous laps, it might be a no, but also got a 15.2 on the board last lap, so maybe there is still hope for the 56 to maybe get that third place, quite possibly. I forget he was running second, was Reagan, before that spin off of pit road. This is a little bit further back as well. Skip Gandy in the 17th position, applying the pressure to Corey Precker in the 35. In the kind of yellow and grey livery, just up in front. It's battle for 16th, but both of them a lap down as we have a spin for Baron Hilton through the S's.
Baron Hilton having some issues out on the track as he was trying to get himself turned around, as it looks like he might have had a little help from the 37 of Eric Papineau, as he's still trying to get himself situated back onto the racing circuit.
Slides his way through the grass and managed to get his way back on again. Let's see how it happens, shall we? Keep your eyes on the one car there, and it's contact. The 35. He kind of came down on the 37 there. I've got 37, excuse me, I should say. Kind of came down on the 37 there a little bit and got turned across the nose.
Now watching Mike Witt here in the number 26 machine for SEG Esports Slipstream team, as he is working his way, trying to see if he can catch up to Papineau. They're both one lap down, so this is a battle for position. And now we'll see if they can get their way through.
Sorry, of course, every position is a point in this series. No complicated differences in any of the positions in terms of how many points you get. It is 1 point a position, which I'm a fan of as a commentator anyway, in terms of the maths. It makes our life a whole lot easier. But he'll know exactly what's up for grabs here, and every point is going to matter as we head towards Season 4 and the playoffs, of course. Some of these drivers will already know, or will have accepted in their minds, especially, that I'm not going to be able to win my way into this playoffs. These playoffs, I should say. I'm going to have to do it on points, and in which case, every single position is going to matter.
Certainly is, as Mike Wick gets a little bit loose off corner exit here of turn number 10, but it gets himself situated, and as he makes the run up to turn 1.
Taking a slightly wider entry than some of the others, and really having to get the brakes jammed on up the hill there, but the gravity just helping you out ever so slightly. And through the S's, looks like there's been a bit of a gap developing between the two of them. Do a number of fights going on. This one for 18th, of course. We've got one for 8th between Haag and Trent Dinkle. And obviously Danny Cervantes and Chris Hudson, the battle that's been going on the entirety of this race so far, although Haag goes far too deep into the hairpin, and that is going to be Trent Dinkle into 8th place.
Great drive right there for Trent Dinkle as he is inside comfortably into the top 10. As he now tries to set his sights on Sean Powell, who's about 2.5 seconds up the road from him.
And he might well be able to catch him. Let's see. Trent Dinkle did a 15.3 last time around, although that was well under the influence of the 89 just up in front. Sean Powell with a 15.7, about half a second away. James O'Brien about half a second slower than Dinkle as well. But it's been a very impressive drive from the 9 car today. Starting so far down in the field due to a penalty from the last race. Not a lot you can do about that, but what you can do is just get through the field as efficiently as possible, and Trent Dinkle has been very good at doing that today.
Certainly has, as we see Robert Besaw Jr., who's now rejoined back out onto the track. He's going to try to see if he can pick up a couple of extra positions, as we saw what happened to him. Just a little too wide through that corner. Goes a little off-roading. Loops it around almost, but is able to keep on going here. He sits 26, 6 laps down.
Yeah, his pit stop earlier on lasted nearly 10 minutes, and he's 6 laps down on the next car, 9 laps down on the overall race leader, which is really quite a long way down. As traffic once again for Danny Cervantes. See, what is that? Good 3 or 4 cars here, just up in front of him. Lock up for the 98. 35, trying to stay out of everybody's way, but also they've got their own race to run here. Chris Hudson very nearly getting into side-to-side contact.
Close call right there for Hudson as he's able to gather it back up, trying to get around Precker for position, as well as to keep up with the pace of Danny Cervantes. Not going to work this time as he loses about a couple of tenths last time around with that.
Joshua Daniels just falling into the clutches of these guys ever so slightly. The gap's still 7 seconds, but once again, Josh Daniels providing another very, very solid performance. He's yet to finish second in this year. He's got a number of third place finishes. 3 third places in the second season of 2022, but hasn't finished in second yet, despite his 3 pole positions as well. And still no wins, remarkably, but as I said earlier on, consistency in any championship is so important. Daniels has had the best consistency out of anyone, and he's leading these points as we go on board with Chris Hudson.
Chris trying to find an opening to get around some of the lap cars. That's the 25 machine as they are trying to jockey for position at Clayton Ham. But Hudson still having a tough time to keep up pace with Danny Cervantes.
Slightly offline there for the 48. Compromise run towards the penultimate corner, and got Hudson too far back to make any move at the hairpin, as he referenced earlier on the ultra wide screen for the 43 driver, helping him around this road course here tonight. Out over the line for 14 to go. He really has been biding his time though, Hudson. No, every time we've seen him, we've seen Cervantes in the same shot somewhere around. He's been so patient trying to make this move.
He certainly has, biding his time, taking care of his equipment here, trying to see if he can see an opening in case Cervantes makes a mistake. He can capitalize on it, but so far has not been able to, especially even with the help of the lap traffic.
Saw that little bit of lap traffic last lap around here, but it hurt Hudson really more than it helped him. not a very long lap around here at Sonoma, certainly shorter than the one used in real life at the moment, but it's not the longest, of course, and 30 cars to start off with here today is quite a lot, and it does result in a lot of lap traffic, 2 of which are coming up for these guys right now. You can just see them in the distance, although Hudson slightly offline into the penultimate corner. He is going to be just falling back by a couple of tenths through there, down on the brakes into the hairpin. Hudson will remain in that 4th position.
Trying to keep pace right there as they're catching up on some more lap traffic. So more opportunity for Hudson to see if he can get around Cervantes this time, and he picks up a couple of tenths right there. Big gain now, under 0.4 of a second, as they head into the downhill of turn number 3 before climbing up the hill. Look to the inside. Can he see this? Will he capitalize, utilize that lap car as a pick? Nope, thinks better of it. Lets them get through the corner as Lovings and the 27 machine will let them by.
Very helpfully swinging wide at turn 4, letting these two get on with their fight. 13 to go at the moment. Been a very clean and green race, especially through the second half. Everybody getting on with their race really at the highest pace possible, especially Josh Conker, of course, who's been out front all day long, but these two as well getting the most they can out of today. Are they being caught by Richard Reagan? Not really. The gap's still over 4 seconds. And unfortunately, his race has basically boiled down to that exit off of pit road, and he's going to be very frustrated with that. As is Sean Powell as well, who's 7th at the moment. Those two will both believe that they could have done a lot more today.
Yeah, we certainly has been struggling with some lap times here and trying to keep pace as we have another new fast lap of the race. Josh Conker, not this lap, but a couple of laps ago, was able to set a 14.111. So if he keeps at this pace, he could easily break into the 113 bracket. He ran a 14.5 last time by, and as he comes through the final couple of corners right here, we'll see if he can pick it up a little bit, but I'm actually seeing if he can break into the 113s.
Let's see. He's just doing this for fun at the moment. 17 seconds, I believe, for Josh Conker. Not quite that 113, though. It's another mid-14. We're speaking about a mid-14 as if it's a slow lap time, but that is scarily quick. Josh Conker really has had things all his own way so far in this race here today. So, as I referenced a little bit earlier on, in the first 2 races of 2022 at the Atlanta Motor Speedway and Talladega as well. Winner both of those races. It was the Canadian, and it looks like he's going to get his 3rd race victory here in the opener of season 3. Of course, just to explain how the championships work, I know we've been speaking about a lot of different kind of series champions and all that kind of thing. There will be a points tally for season 3, so we will get a season 3 champion in 2022. Also, speaking about the playoffs, that being a year-long thing that the top 16 drivers will qualify for. I say top 16. The guys who have won a race, and then the rest best scoring drivers. And of course, the points tally for the overall 2022 as well will be kept account of as well. Plenty of stuff up for grabs, and Josh Conker getting season 3 off to the best possible start.
Certainly is, as we watch Fritz Hudson now trying to see if he can find that opening to get around Danny Cervantes here, as he is working his way through, having a good run, gets to the inside of Elliott Butler. Cervantes gets a little loose. Could this be the opportunity for Hudson? Not quite enough, though, as we get 10 laps to go.
10 to go here at Sonoma. 50 laps complete. And these two have been little more than 5 meters apart for the entirety of this race. Cervantes, though, locks the brakes, struggles his way through turn 1. Chris Hudson will fancy his chances. Offline for Cervantes, now is the chance. Hudson gets a big slide of his own, though, and he won't be able to make the move at 4.
can see a little bit of frustration there in Chris Hudson's face as he's trying to gather itself back up and try to make another run in that Carbotech Love Racing Camaro.
I mean, you can hardly blame him for getting a bit maybe overexcited at the thought of the sight of Cervantes getting it a bit wrong. But it's so hard to get the power down at the best of times. You're going over the brow of the hill there. As Trent Dinkle's off the road here somewhere. Oh, what a shame for the 9 car. He's out.
Tough break for Trent Dinkle here.
Really, really tough, yeah. That's such a shame to see. He's had such a good drive all day long. Is it going to be this outside wall? Oh, it is. He clips it. It wasn't even a... He didn't even lose control of the car. It was just a complete misjudgment, I'm afraid, from Dinkle. What a frustrating end to the day.
Very frustrating end to the day as we see the Whataback racing machine of Danny Cervantes in the RaceSpot colors, trying to work his way through to a podium finish. As he still is squirreling, he is fighting that Chevrolet very hard here through some of these corners.
You get the feeling that now that we're getting down towards the end, people are really pushing the tyres, to their very limit. As you look at the positions gained and lost on the left-hand side of your screen, you can now see that Tyler Justice is the biggest mover forwards. Mark Kalin as well. Sorry.
I was going to say another driver who's pushing the limits is Josh Conker. He set a 14:07 last time by, so he is really stretching it to the absolute limit as we watch Cervantes and Chris Hudson trying to see if they can do battle. This is the opening maybe for Hudson. Will he send it in? Nope, not close enough.
As I mentioned, Conker getting closer to that 113. Nearly 30 seconds further down the road. Cervantes versus Hudson is still the battle to watch. Over the line with 8 to go. Hudson, as I mentioned, has been so patient, but time is no longer really on his side, and you've got to wonder when this patience is maybe even going slightly too far, and when he will actually be able to make a move here. When is he going to attempt to really make a move here? Because Hudson is running out of laps.
He certainly is, and this is where he needs to just go ahead and be a little more aggressive, show that nose a little bit more as he gets a little bit too much curbing right there, but he can't be making mistakes like that. He has got to find that opening and capitalize on Cervantes' mistake, because Cervantes is struggling with that number 48 machine. He's getting very loose through some of the corners here as we watch them work their way sidewinding through the S's, and I got to keep an eye on Richard Reagan, who's picked up the pace now. He's only 1.8 seconds back from these two.
Best performing Toyota at this race is Reagan. And trying to close in and maybe make it a top 3 here today, but not able to get down the inside there is Hudson. It's been the story of his race really as we get 7 to go coming up towards the line now. Is Reagan going to have the time? Yeah, he's 1.7 away at the moment. Bit of lap traffic for these guys up in front as well. Maybe there is hope here for Reagan to restore that top 3, of course, which he lost out on earlier.
Gonna have to wait and see if this will happen here as we're watching on. This is probably the best battle on the racetrack here, the battle for the final step of the podium. It's a 3-horse race between Cervantes, Hudson, and Reagan Jr. As they come through this, a little bit of too much curb right there for Hudson, but is able to gather it back up, but loses a little bit more time than what he needs to on Cervantes.
Hudson, so the can we say reigning race winner? Is that a thing? But he won the last race of season 2 anyway, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, reigning race. It doesn't sound quite right, does it? But there we are. He is anyway. He has got a race win to his name. I mean, you might be wondering, for those in the playoffs, what is the incentive for them to continue on and try and win more races? Well, first of all, they're racing drivers, so it's ingrained within them. But playoff points, of course, available as well, as there is in real life. It doesn't quite work the same as it does in real life NASCAR, but Josh Conker will be picking up quite a deal of playoff points here today. Chris Hudson will be trying to get a few more as well. I believe you get them for... I don't believe he'll actually gain any by making this pass on Cervantes, but he's going to want to make it anyway. And of course, playoff points will make your life a lot easier when we get to season 4, and you're trying to qualify out the round of 16 and the round of 12, etc., etc., before our final race of the season at the end of 2022.
Certainly is here, and of course this is a fixed setup iRacing series, so a lot of things are based off of just driver input and driver handling of a race car here tonight. So it's once again going to be a little bit more of an interesting series. The series officials decided, since of the new car, they decided to just run the full season as a fixed setup in order for drivers to get used to the car, in order for next season to have a chance possibly to be an open setup to where these drivers can then make adjustments to these cars.
Let's see what 2023 brings in the Precision Racing League. Into the hairpin again. Chris Hudson does look very strong there. If he can just stay close enough. He doesn't seem to be strong enough working down the hill through the S's. He's not quite able to stay close enough to Cervantes to really have that dive, but he is strong on the brakes if he can open that opportunity up for himself. 5 to go, and the looming prospect of Richard Reagan closing in on the both of them as well has got to be playing on the mind of the driver of the 43.
That's why Hudson needs to try to get around Cervantes as quickly as possible. He'll show his nose, but he's not going to be able to make it this time. He can't keep doing that here lap after lap, as there's the mistake he made. He might send it to the inside this time. Contact, around goes Cervantes.
Contact made, Cervantes, and he's going to wait for him. Chris Hudson's going to wait for him. The 48 trying to get going again. Richard Reagan is going to move up to third, but I think Chris Hudson is being... we'll need to see it again, and I'm no doubt we will do, but I'm feeling Chris Hudson being a bit generous there by allowing Cervantes ahead once more, because I'm not sure he was really at fault too much. As I say, we'll have to see it again, but from my first viewing, Cervantes looked like he cut in front. Let's see it again.
Oh. I think Cervantes was going into his braking zone, and Hudson was trying to send it in a little deeper. And
yeah, I might have to change my mind. I don't know. It's one of those. Hudson did the gentlemanly thing at least, though.
Yes, he did. He waited for Cervantes to get going, and Hudson now will sit in 5th spot, but now has to worry about a hard-charging James O'Brien and Sean Powell, who are closing in here in these final 3 laps.
Great to see the sportsmanship there from Hudson, who could have easily just continued on ahead. This is Richard Reagan's view of everything. He picked his way through the chaos quite nicely himself and finds himself in the top 3 again. Not the way he would have liked to do it, no doubt, but he is back into the top 3, where I think he will feel he deserves to be, really.
Agree with you on that as they work their way through here. We're watching Sean Powell in the 45 machine, trying to see if he can keep pace with James O'Brien here. He's about half a second off the pace, and trying to see if he can work his way back to the back bumper of the multiple-time champion O'Brien now as they work down towards the back half of the course.
All of these fights inside the top 7 positions or so are starting to close up. 3 to go, though, not very much time left remaining in this race at Sonoma. Into the hairpin again. James O'Brien is going to have an easy time defending on this occasion, but what is it going to look like in about a minute's time? Lap traffic as well, not helping the cause of the 33 driver up the hill. Trying to make your way through, but there's so many cars a lap down now that the first cars a lap down, the first cars that these guys are actually getting to, are getting faster and faster with every car that they go by, so life is getting more difficult towards the end of this race.
Certainly is. 9 cars are on the lead lap. Tyler Justice, the last car on the lead. Ooh, 3 wide as they come out of there.
Very nearly. Contact as well as Powell makes his way to the inside. Bit more contact into the hairpin, but James O'Brien has been demoted to 7th place. Powell making great use of an opportunity there. 3 wide, out of turn 4. Aggressive move, brave move, but he made it work.
Yeah, it looks like James clipped the curbing, shot him up the racetrack to get into the 31 a little bit. That opens the door for Powell to then come in and try to capitalize on that mistake.
Slight nudge between Powell and the lap car there, but no harm really. And now the 45 is going to try and get away for the remainder of this race. Try and leave James O'Brien behind. One-time race winner from this season so far is the man from Florida. 6th position though for Powell, and he's going to look to get away over the next few moments. Chris Hudson and Danny Cervantes are a little bit too far away, you might say, in the remainder of this race, but you never ever know based on what we've seen so far in this one. It's been a traditional opener, I suppose. Well, we don't often traditionally open seasons at Sonoma, obviously, but it's been a very recognisable Sonoma race, I have to say. Long, clean green flag run. Mostly a lot of clean racing, for especially the second half of this race. And it's a good way to get the season underway, a perfect way if you just conquer.
Certainly indeed here, as he's going to come down here. He takes the white flag one more time around this tricky and difficult road course, but not too difficult for Josh Conquer, as he will, excuse the corny and cheesy pun, but he will conquer this track so far if he makes it to the checker flag.
I've been resisting making that joke all day.
Great minds think alike.
I'm glad you've done it and not me, because it's been on my mind all day long. But there we are. He certainly has done. The 54 driver, untouchable here today. And for the first time since the second race of 2022, he is going to be in victory lane once again. Final corner for the Canadian. And it's going to be a more than deserved victory for Josh Conquer. Out of the hairpin. And the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series race at Sonoma is going to be won by Josh Conquer by a humongous margin. Lap cars come across the line behind him. It's going to be another 23 seconds before we see any of his rivals. That's just how dominant the 54 car has been today. Astonishing performance from Josh Conquer.
Certainly is. You can see Joshua Daniels in the 77 machine will come across the line in second place, as Bacon will come home in third. And here's the battle for fourth. Cervantes and Hudson back at it. Into the pit. Ooh.
Contact with the wall. Chris Hudson loses out on not only the opportunity to go third, but he's down to seventh with big damage to the front end of that Chevrolet. He is very dejected coming over the line at the moment there. Not happy with the final 10 laps of that race.
I think officials would be looking at that there at the end. That was a little bit of I don't know how to properly put that, but that one's an interesting scenario.
Oh yeah, it's going to be, it's a difficult one. On the one hand, you've got Chris Hudson. Is there a space to go down the inside there? Has Cervantes led him into the wall there? Where do you put that blame?
Yeah,
difficult one.
Well, thankfully that's the job of the race officials to take a look
yes. You're absolutely right. We thankfully only have to watch the races, of course, and the stewards will be looking at that one as we speak. But it's Josh Conquer who's going to be in victory lane, and hopefully we're going to be able to speak to him after this race as well. But what a dominant performance from the 54 car. Josh Conquer victorious here at Sonoma. We'll bring those race results up for you. 25 seconds was the margin in the end to Joshua Daniels, who extends his 2022 points lead as an overall. Richard Reagan did manage to get the top three overall after all of that. Danny Cervantes does hold on for fourth. Sean Powell with a top five there ahead of James O'Brien and a dejected Chris Hudson, Chris Hager and Eric Hager, and Tyler Justice, the final cars on the lead lap. Joseph Hogarth ends up inside the top 10. Pat Harvey just outside of it with Mark Kalin next ahead of Dean Zayas, Scotty Johnson and Corey Preckett, along with Skip Gandy with the final cars one lap down. And then we've got Erin Papineau and Mike Witt in a bit of an SGE kind of train going on a bit there. Elliot Butler, after struggling for much of the day, finishes up 19th ahead of Adam Zenke, who does get into the top 20. Steve Loving, 3 laps down in the end, 21st. Charles Sumner, a fair few more. Trent Dinkle as well. After a great run, he finishes a lowly 23rd. Robert Bissard Jr. Struggled all day, as well as Clayton Ham. Baron Hilton in 26th with Xiao Guerra at 27th. Byron McDonald, Jose Medina and Ricky Barbary rounding out your 30 drivers who took to the course here today. Well, as I mentioned, Taylor, a great race and a lot of dejected people down the order there. It's been a tough day for some.
It certainly has, and it's only going to be even more interesting to see how this season will go for several different drivers here tonight. as well as we go throughout the season as we head to our first oval race next week.
We certainly do. Nashville is on the menu next week. Let's go for the third position man first, shall we? Richard Reagan Jr., who now joins us from the 56 car. Third place in the end for you, Richard. Can you hear us?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we certainly can, and we're glad to hear you as well. Third place here today, as I mentioned. But what's your feeling on the end of that result? Because, I mean, you obviously had a couple of problems up and down the order. Touch us a little bit about that pit road exit, of course, that unfortunately undid your race a little bit.
Yeah, you know, the cold tires, it really takes 3 laps to get the tires to come in here. And I remembered when I was coming off pit road to take it easy, but I guess I didn't take it easy enough. I must have just been used to the light fuel load and the tires gripped up, because the tires are the best at the end of the stint. So I just, I don't know, man. I went and hit the brake and it just locked up the rear end, and I spun out, and then I did it a couple laps later. So just mistakes like that I need to cut down on and get a shot at the win.
Absolutely. Speaking about that, of course, what was the what's your feeling after this race, kind of as an overall? Because obviously third place is still a good result, but the circumstances surrounding it. Are you happy with your performance overall, though?
Yeah, I can't really complain about this race. I didn't expect to be as fast as I was this week anyway. And after the mistakes I made, I had to run down P3 and 4 by like 6 seconds. And granted, they had contact, but I mean, I was setting pretty good lap times at the end when I was right near them, second back. So I think it was just a matter of time before I picked them off anyway. So honestly, I'm pretty proud of my performance here tonight.
Absolutely. Third place, a great result for you. Congratulations on that. Thanks very much for coming to join us, coming to talk to us. And yeah, once again, congratulations.
Thank you. I'd like to just give a shout out to Liquid Molly and Gearhead Coffee and everyone at Phase 2 Chassis Works and Jay-Z Photography, Neonism Paints, my spotter Respog, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure here tonight. Richard, thanks for joining us, as I said. And yeah, good luck next week at Nashville.
Thank you, guys.
There we are, Richard Reagan from third position here today. We're going to work our way up the podium, I think, today by going with Josh Daniels next, I think, if we don't mind. We'll bring him in here. Joshua, welcome to the broadcast booth. Have you? Can you hear us? Can we hear you?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we certainly can. There we are. Good to see you. Second place after the race here today. I mean, once again, are you pleased with the performance? Second place is obviously a long way off of Josh Conker, but he seemed to be in a different league today. What are your thoughts immediately after that one?
Yeah, he was. You know, he was definitely up there pulling away. I was trying to get the fastest lap of the race, and I kept looking down and seeing the 14.9s. I kept clicking off, and I got out of the race and seeing he was up there running 14.0s and stuff. I was, man, he was flying up there.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm constantly, week after week, waiting for you to take a race win in 2022 because it's somehow still not happening. Looking up ahead to kind of the next few races, we've got a few ovals coming up over the next 4 weeks or so. Where do you think that race win is going to come for you?
You know, I don't know, man. You know, I just, I never try any less. I just try as hard as I can and do as many races that I can do. And, you know, some weeks I embarrass myself, and you know, some weeks I get on the podium.
It's the way it goes. Before we let you go, of course, is there any sponsors or people you want to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to thank everybody over at Love Racing. You know, we've been working real hard trying to get fast, and I'd like to thank Black Asset Apparel and GSRC and RaceSpot for putting on a good show.
Absolutely, it's been our pleasure here tonight to bring this race to you. Joshua, thanks very much for coming to join us, and congratulations on second position here tonight.
Thanks, man.
Thank you very much, Josh Daniels from second position here on the race here tonight. Josh Conker now has finally got himself ready, and we've brought him in now. Josh, can you hear us?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, what a race that was from you, I've got to say. We didn't see very much of you, I have to be honest, but you were out there producing the best lap times all day long. Tell us your feeling immediately after that one.
Yeah, it was definitely a long and grueling race for sure. 60 laps around Sonoma is no easy task. It was a good overall race. I feel like we had really good pace. Qualifying was really close. And yeah, I just kind of started taking off laps at the start. Just tried to stay clean, keep my head calm, and just stay consistent and just try and build a small gap.
Absolutely, you got quite a big gap by the end indeed as well, 25 seconds. Looking ahead towards the next few races, as I mentioned, we've got 4 ovals coming up the next 4 weeks or so. What are you expecting from Season 3, though, of the PRL NASCAR Cup Series?
Definitely looking forward to a few road courses here. I know there's a few road courses on the schedule. Sonoma's been one of my favorite tracks. It suits me really well, so glad that we could get the win today and glad that we got to drive it. As for the ovals, we've been really quick on the ovals. I might miss next week. I'm at a race away in North Carolina, so the drive back to Canada, I might not make it, but we'll see. Looking forward to getting back on the ovals. We always have good pace and we always work really, really well as a team. So yeah, definitely looking forward.
Yeah, we're certainly looking forward to it here as well. And before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out, any sponsors or anyone you'd like to mention before we let you go?
Yeah, always. I'd like to thank Private Label, Team Hype, Ty Stover, Tommy Milner. Without those guys, we don't have the team. Especially Tommy for tonight. He was our crew chief in the Discord, and he was a great big help. I'd like to thank our teammates, obviously James. He had a great run, finishing P6. Trent had an amazing run through the field. Unfortunately, didn't end his way tonight, but that's how racing goes. I'd like to thank our sponsors, Private Label, Ethica. I'd like to thank my personal ones, Lone Palm Design, Daniel Morad at Moradness, and you guys for putting on the broadcast.
It's been a pleasure once again. Josh, well done on tonight. It's been a great to see you do your stuff out there in P1 today, and yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the next few weeks.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. There's Josh Conker there. First position, of course, 25 seconds in front of the field here today. What a performance from him. One final interview that we are going to do before we conclude here tonight. Corey Precker joins us now, 15th position in that 35 car here tonight. Corey, talk us through your race a little bit and talk us through your thoughts after this one here at Sonoma.
Yeah, it was a very physical race. I am exhausted. I did Watkins Glen 6 hours and Mellon's 24 hours, but I thought this was the most physical race out there. Anyways, my race, I think I was trying to hold up, got a really good fight with Scotty Johnson out there. Kept him behind me for the longest time, and then it just stunk for me. A lapped car kind of got loose in front of me, and I had to kind of back off, and Scotty was able to get past me at that point. And I felt like I was catching him at one point, but then that I was getting lapped by the leaders, and just couldn't get past them because I had to let the leaders through. Skip also gave me a good fight at the end. He tried to go for a little dive bomb move into the last corner. I know I got past him at I can't remember what point it was, but I know I passed him on the track, and it was crazy. It was pretty crazy race. Hard fought 15th place for me.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to shout out? Any sponsors? Anybody you'd like to shout out before we let you go?
Yeah, I'd like to shout out my dad. Happy Father's Day, and the rest of my family that's watching on RaceSpot, and I would like to thank YS Motorsports, my teammates Joseph Hoggard and Clayton Ham, and I'm very thankful for my team and my family.
Absolutely, it's great to see you out there once again here tonight, Corey. It's but yeah, we'll let you go now. Congratulations on obviously the drive here tonight, and we'll see you in the next few weeks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. There we are, Corey Bracker from 15th position, excuse me, after 60 laps of racing here at Sonoma. That is just about going to do it, though, from us here at RaceSpotTV tonight. Next week, we'll be with you, same time, same place, once again, 8:30 ET for the Nashville Super Speedway race. What a race that is going to be in just 1 week's time. I hope to see you to see you then for that one. It's going to be another great one. of course. I've been Ewan O'Leary alongside Taylor Burris here tonight. Hugo Luis has been behind the cameras. This has been the Precision Racing League NASCAR Cup Series kicking off for Season 3 in 2022. And until we see you at Nashville in 1 week's time, it's goodbye for now.